on and voting on. That's the key to turning around the problem of special interest money in politics in America.
U.S. presidential and congressional elections were the most expensive in U.S. and world history, $6 billion. But who put up this money? Who paid all this money? For that, we need to go to opensecrets.org that lists the top donors, the special interest groups, the big business, major banks, big oil, big defense. They're the ones. In U.S. democracy, money talks and almost always trumps the voters.
You get a lobbyist who will take you out to dinner and offer to give you some money in cash, and you know what he's representing. He's already explained what he wants you to vote on. The other is much more subtle, but just as corrupting, and that is that you have a fundraiser. And so lobbyists come to your fundraiser, they deposit $100, $500, $1,000 checks at your fundraiser, and then the next day you're sitting on the floor of the Senate or the House, and the interest that that lobbyist who donated to your campaign is up for consideration. Well, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to go back and give back the money they gave you at the fundraiser? Heck no. You're sensitive to it, and you're conditioned to it. And so you turn around and you move your conscience or your morality to be able to accommodate the interest of the lobbyist and the contributors who supported your campaign. It's one power system that begets another power system. They have the power of money to contribute to your campaign. You have the power to turn around and vote for things that should be in the public interest, but in point of fact, are in the interest of the people who put the money up for your campaign. Very, very corrupt, very subtle. And so we kid ourselves into thinking that we have honest government. We don't have honest government. We have the government of special interest and the government of elites.
These players are, and again, we have to point out, it's corporations, it's unions, it's cartels, it's anyone who's making money from government. They're all donating to campaigns, but also, as you point out, doing other things. They're paying politicians exorbitant speaker fees, $40,000, $100,000 to speak for one night. Now, is it because that person is that much of a draw just because they served on someone's cabinet once upon a time or because they're a politician? Do they really have that much new to say that people want to pay that much to see them speak? Or is it payback? Well, I think it's well known that these speaker fees is one form of payback. Donating to inaugural balls is another one. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of ways in which money flows back to politicians and to their campaigns and to directly or indirectly promoting their stature as a politician.
It's called the revolving door, a very special phenomenon in U.S. politics. From the big business into U.S. Congress, and from U.S. Congress back into big business. U.S. senators and Congress members do not just get paid by the politicians contributing to their election campaigns. They also get to serve on the boards of the very same corporations that pour money into their campaign coffers.
Although the influence powerhouses that line Washington's K Street are just a few miles from the U.S. Capitol building, the most direct path between the two does not necessarily involve public transportation. Instead, it's through a door, a revolving door that shuffles former federal employees into jobs as lobbyists, consultants, and strategists, just as a door pulls former hired guns into government careers. While officials in the executive branch, Congress, and senior congressional staffers spin in and out of the private and public sectors, so too does privilege, power, access, and of course, money. There are 6,176 congressional staffers in the Open Secrets revolving door. Each election, members of Congress are defeated in their bid for re-election or choose to voluntarily leave office. The 2010 midterm election saw an exceptionally large number of sitting members leave.
Well, we have two revolving doors. We have what you just pointed out is in the Congress. I can recall when the chairman of the committee that passed the prescription drug plan under Medicare after he passed it, he immediately resigned. This is before his term was up. And he went to a job representing the drug manufacturers for $1 million a year in compensation. This revolving door is not only within the Congress, it's within the military. You take generals that they retire, they're retained by the various networks to give their opinions on television. They're retained by manufacturers who have contracts with the Defense Department. And so we got these two major revolving doors are really very serious. And the other revolving door that's not necessarily noticed is that a lot of members of Congress, after they leave the Congress, become lobbyists. They lobby, they go to law firms, and the law firms represent various economic interests, and it's their job to go back to their colleagues and point out to them what's in the best interest of the companies they represent, and also then to go to their fundraisers and contribute money when these people are raising money to run for re-election. So the whole process of representative government is very bad, very distorted, is designed to keep the people in civic adolescence and deny them the ability to mature.
One of the major issues facing U.S. Congress, the representatives of we the people, over the past few years has been the issue of the Great Recession, poverty, homelessness, joblessness that has gripped the entire nation. Main Street versus Wall Street. But how has U.S. Congress acted? Doesn't that explain part of the record low approval rating people have for their Congress? Expectations are high. Congress should stand up to Wall Street and big business. But how could Congress really stand up to Wall Street and big business while they have Wall Street and big business not only paying into their campaign coffers, but also having them serve on their boards?
People were expecting that measures would be taken to deal with the worst financial crisis probably in our history. President Obama had promised that. He also had significant support within the U.S. Congress from Democrats, but that was a long time ago. Very little has been done. President Obama made the conscious decision to bail out Wall Street, to save the investment banks, and it's really been at the cost of the general public, because the U.S. Government has assumed that essentially the private debt through the bailout of these banks, and now they're turning to the holders of Social Security, to people who have their pensions, and they're telling you we're in debt, so we've got to cut back on a lot of these expenses. So people are angry. It's really a good question. I mean, the polls that Obama has also are very low. Congress may be a little below that. Congress generally, at least the U.S. House of Representatives, is generally the institution